More Intel news. Intel's newest Lake has been detailed for the first time. Official specs have been announced for Alder Lake. This is the successor to 11th Gen Core Rocket Lake. It'll use the Intel 7 process. So this was previously 10 nanometer enhanced SuperFin. Okay, fair enough. It's a heterogeneous Big Little architecture with the performance cores featuring a 19% improvement in IPC over Rocket Lake. That is actually a pretty big deal and could put Intel ahead of AMD when it comes to gaming performance, though only time will tell. Efficiency cores are faster per thread than Skylake, which is pretty exciting. So even the low power, like crappy cores are still pretty decent. And there'll be 3 physical designs, 8 performance plus 8 efficiency, for a total of 24 threads, 6 performance plus 8 efficiency for a total of 20 threads, and 2 performance plus 8 efficiency for a total of 12 threads. So only the performance cores are going to have Intel's hyperthreading, where they can process 2 threads per core. They're going to run DDR5 at 4,800 megatransfers per second. Peak bandwidth increase of over 50% over the best DDR4 3200 memory. Cool. PCI Express Gen 5 with up to 16 lanes coming from the CPU. And then we're going to have 4 Gen 4 lanes for storage. Intel has apparently determined that Gen 5 lanes are not necessary for storage. They're probably not wrong. AVX 512 support has been removed. That's probably where some of that better IPC is coming from. They're just not spending die area on features that the vast majority of consumers will never touch. And the TDP of the top-end SKU will be 125 watts. Was this written by Anthony? It was, because it's got 5 quotations on either side of 125 watts. We've gotten to the point where Intel, AMD, and NVIDIA's TDP ratings of their chips simply cannot be compared against each other without just objectively measuring them in the real world. Intel also detailed their thread detector or thread director technology, an EMC inside the CPU. So this will monitor each thread and its individual metrics, so memory, load store, power, etc., and provide data to the OS scheduler, which will decide where threads should go. That's pretty cool. So processes could initially run on a P-core unless they're full or unless they're on battery. It could tell the OS which threads are best to move in on a 30 microsecond scale. AVX prioritized for P-cores. If there are more threads than available P-cores, it will use efficiency cores before using hyperthreading, because those Skylake grade even bad cores are still going to be pretty fast compared to putting 2 threads on the same CPU core. And it can reduce the frequency if a thread is limited elsewhere in order to reduce power. That's pretty cool. That's actually super cool. So per thread, Intel is expected to be able to outpace AMD's Zen 3 processors, but AMD's core count advantage could keep Zen 3 very relevant, particularly at the high end, although that assumes that AMD does nothing in response, and they almost certainly will. I love Intel and AMD being at each other's throats. This is the best thing ever. Actually, yes. No, the best thing ever would be NVIDIA and AMD being at each other's throats on GPU, but right now it's basically NVIDIA running the entire show and AMD being lucky to ship any GPUs and get any GPUs made. As far as I can tell, they're basically, I saw a headline talking about how NVIDIA prices seemed to have been falling a bit, but AMD ones weren't. And I think a big part of that is just down to how many GPUs AMD booked with TSMC. Kind of that simple.